Yeah, and welcome back. And it's the Corbett higher plus 5 a day. And let's just go with the first question. All right, so what do we have today? So first question is a thirds question. Notably, it gives me a format to leave it in. But as I probably said many times, this is a clue as to how I need to do it. I think on this one, I'm just going to expand the brackets. It seems like the easiest thing to do. So let's do it over here. So I've got root 2 plus root 6 times root 2 plus root 6. Now let's do the root 2's first. So root 2 times root 2 is root 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. Or in other words, a square root times itself is just a thing inside the square root. Root 2 times root 6 is root 12. Then the other root 6 times root 2 is also root 12. And root 6 times root 6 is root 36, which of course is 6. So if I collect terms, that gives me 8 plus, well, I've got two lots of root 12, so I'm going to write that as 2 root 12. And question done. But of course it's not, is it? Because it tells me a very specific format to write the question in over here. So I'm going to remember. Now I like to do this. I mean, not that I actually do the exams, obviously. But I'm going to note that root 12 is the same as root 4 times root 3. So I'm doing my working over here in a little box. Sort of makes it clear to the examiner what I'm doing. It's not part of the main thing. Which I can then say root 4 is the same as 2. In other words, root 12 is the same as 2 root 3. So again, I've done my working over here, then I'm going to bring this working back. So I can then say that 8 plus 2 lots of root 12 is the same as 2 lots of 2 root 3, which of course is 8 plus 4 root 3. Now, it's a right question. It's not a show that question. So you definitely could have missed a couple of those steps out, but either way, you can see exactly how I got to what I got to. Next question. All right, so it makes it the subject. So this is what's commonly called the harder version, the subject change question, and that's because the C appears twice, and therefore I'm going to probably need to do some expanding and some factorising and then some rearranging. So let's just give this a go. Very similar steps each time. So I'm going to number the steps, but I will say that they're not always the same steps, but they tend to be quite similar. So the first step is I'm going to multiply through by the denominator. So that's going to give me xy minus xc is equal to y squared plus c. So in other words, I multiply that by that x up there. Then I'm going to collect the thing that is my new subject on the left and everything else on the right. So I'm going to move this c to the other side and that to the other side. Now I've got some minuses here, so it's slightly messy than I wanted it, but we'll carry on. So that's going to be minus cx is equal to y squared minus xy. Now, I don't like all these minuses, so I'm just going to multiply everything by minus 1 because it just tidies it up a bit. So that gives me c plus cx is equal to xy minus y squared. Notice how I did that little switch there. Then if I factorise out the c, the left-hand side becomes c 1 plus x, which equals xy minus y squared. And then I'm going to divide by the bracket on the left-hand side, and that gives me c is equal to xy minus y squared all over 1 plus x. And that is question done. Nice little question. That, again, technique you kind of learn, do it a few times, it will be okay. Next question. Find the nth term of the sequence, then it gives me a sequence, and I'm guessing by the fact the difference to 2, 4, and so that this can be a quadratic sequence, but let's do it properly anyway. So the first difference is not 4, the first difference is 2, try that again. The next difference is 4, 18 from 24 is 6, 24, I hope it's 8, and it is indeed 8, which means my second difference is 2, 2, 2. Now, the one thing you do need to remember with this question is the a term, the coefficient of the squared, is half the second difference. So in other words, that is going to be 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to write my sequence out again. So 12, 14, 18, 24. Now you may have learnt a little technique to do with a plus b plus c, and I think it's 3a plus b is equal to something else. I don't do that. You just have to remember something. You might get it wrong in the exam and panic. Just build it up slowly. I know this means that I've got an n squared. So if I write n squared, in other words, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, underneath my sequence, well, I'm going to take that away because I know that's in my sequence. So that leaves behind 11, 10, I can see where this is going, 9, 8. And this sequence is a sequence of minus n, because I'm going down by 1, plus 12 to get me back to the original 11, and I pull that all together, which means my nth term is going to be n squared from here minus n plus 12. And question done. Nice little question that. Next question. I'm seeing bearings. Okay, think about bearings question. Read it all first, just get an idea of what the diagram is going to look like, and then try and draw a reasonable sketch. So helicopter A and B both take off from the same location. Now, the thing that I care about is A is 172, which is almost straight down, and B is 97, which is a little bit below east. So actually, if I do my starting point here, I can then say that A, again, I don't need to be precise here, is 172 for 8 miles, and B is 97, which is a bit below horizontal, and that's for 13 miles. So it's going to look something like this, isn't it? And that's 13.2 miles. And then I'm going to need this distance here. How far is helicopter A from B? Well, that's A and that's B. Now, it's a cosine rule question. But of course, the issue is I don't know what the angle is here. But I do know the overall angle. So let's try and draw this slightly better. So I know the overall angle is going to be 172. And I know the little angle, which is not that little, but the little angle here is 97, which means the blue angle, so I'm going to try and draw this here so you know what I'm doing. So the blue angle is going to be 172 minus 97, which is going to give me 75 degrees. Yeah, that's correct. I'm actually going to get my calculator anyway, because I'm going to need to do the cosine rule. So now this is just a cosine rule question. So I can say AB, and I'm just going to write it in one go, carefully trying to not make a silly error. So AB is equal to 8 squared plus 13.2 squared minus, bring it over here a bit, 2 times 13.2 times 8 times by cos of 75. And let's get my calculator out. 8 squared plus 13.2 squared minus 2 times 13.2 times 8 times cos 75. I will say calculator skills are important as well. Either way, I've done that all in one go, which should be something you should be okay doing. And that gives me 13 point, well, it says 549.07442, but I'm going to say 13.55, let's say, miles. And that's going to be my final answer. Next question. All right, we're going to end with a minimum point question. Actually, this doesn't look too bad, does it? Okay. A few ways of doing this. I could differentiate. If you know how to differentiate, that's fine. I could find the roots and then find halfway between the roots. But I think the safest and nicest way, and it's a skill no one likes when they first learn, but it's actually really useful to know going forward, is I'm going to complete the square. So half of 9 is 9 over 2. Then I'm going to take away 9 over 2 squared, which is 81 over 4, and take away this 20. Well, 20 in quarters is going to be 4 times 20, which is 80 over 4. And it just allows me to do that fraction slightly easier, doesn't it? So I put all that together, and that's going to give me x minus 9 over 2 squared minus 80 plus 81 is 161. So that's going to be 161 over 4. Now, that's me completing the square. Then I remember that therefore the minimum point is the negative of the thing inside the brackets, 9 over 2. And then the same as the thing on the outside the brackets, which is 161 over 4. And that's today done. As ever, usual thing. Good mix of questions today. Hopefully they went well for you. Do like and subscribe. Do make sure you follow the channel. I'll be doing these videos regularly going forward, and I will see you for the next one. Thanks all.